your Kids OT. Thanks for joining me here today as we look at how to use a marble or a ball to encourage fine motor skills. So some of those fine motor skills we're going to be looking at are a pincer grasp, the separation of the two sides of the hand, so use stabilizing this side while using this side of the hand, wrist extension, which is really important for handwriting and for cutting. We're going to be looking at thumb opposition, so being able to move the thumb across. Dynamic finger movements, where the fingers actually do the work. Those are just some of the fine motor skills we're going to be looking at, and I'm going to show you lots of ways that you can just incorporate a ball into your therapy sessions. So you can use a marble of different sizes. I have a couple of different sizes here. You can use a ball, or you could use a ball of Play-Doh, so you could try different sizes as well. Obviously, the bigger the ball is, the easier it will be for your child. So the first thing we're going to do is just encourage your child to position their hand like this, in a cup sort of shape, with their fingers bent, thumb bent, with a slight gap between their fingers. And I just put a few marbles in their hand and encourage them just to roll it around without dropping. So this encourages the palmar arches, the development of palmar arches, that wrist extension that I mentioned, and just putting their fingers in, just developing some of that flexion, extension of their fingers. So you could try different balls and see how many can be positioned. You could pretend that they're a delivery of apples and deliver them from one part of the room to another. You could deliver berries or whatever you decide. You can turn it into a play activity. So that's just a really simple one to encourage those fine motor skills. Something else you can do is start with the fingers and just encourage sort of a duck pattern, and then ask the duck to eat something. I usually say a lemon or an egg or something like that. So the duck doesn't like the lemon or the egg, so it makes a face, it goes ew, and it pushes it back and forth, and that encourages those dynamic finger movements. Some children will find this really difficult, so they might need to put all fingers on the ball to start with, and then slowly reduce the number of fingers on top. Ooh, see, there I dropped mine as well. So you can try different size balls, different size marbles, and practice that push-pull motion. Something else you can do, and I tend to do this with the larger ball, is just to spin the ball with the fingertips. I'll try and show you my thumb there. So just try and encourage those thumb movements. If you've got a ball like mine that has different colours, you can try and say move it so that the green bit's on top or the yellow bit's on top, or move it from side to side. See whether they can encourage the thumb to do some of that work, so it encourages that opposition. Another thing you can just get them to do is just to touch the ball with each finger. So you can lay the ball in the palm of your hand and just use each finger to touch the ball without dropping it. You can also manipulate the ball to the end and then down to the palm. I'm going to show you a few other ways to use the ball on the table, so I'm going to flip to that now. So I'm going to show you now a few ideas for using balls on the table and with a few little things to just encourage those fine motor skills again. The first one is very similar to what I showed you up in the air, but now we're down on a table. So just create a bit of an arch with the hand and put that ball inside. Encourage the wrist and the forearm to be resting on the table, and just move the ball around. Try not to let the ball escape as it moves around. You can try two hands, and you can try crossing the midline and moving across your body, going across, two hands together, or just one hand in itself. So a step up from that is actually using the fingers to manipulate the ball to move across. So encourage those finger movements. I like to give the children a visual aid, so I might use something like washi tape. And you can just create a line with the washi tape. This one's a bit stuck today. Create a line for them to move the ball along. Oh, I can use a Play-Doh ball to show you. Moving that along with your thumb. Or you could try and go up and down over the line. Or you might use the Play-Doh as an obstacle course for the ball to weave in and out. So encourage that wrist to be resting on the table as much as possible. Children will want to do this rather than resting their hand on the table. Another thing you could do is the letter roads that I showed you in a previous video. I'll link to that in the description box below. And you can work on letter formation with your ball or Play-Doh as well. Something else you can do with the washi tape roll itself is put a ball inside and just move that lid around. That's a little bit of fun as we see the ball spinning. Another fun thing is playing finger soccer. So we again rest the wrist and the forearm on the table, and this time we just try to elevate, just try to move the index finger, and we'll position the ball so that we can give it a kick. Again, you can try different size balls, and the child might have to stop the ball as well as kick it to a target. I like to play this across the table from my OT kids, but obviously that's a bit difficult now in the while we're doing telehealth services. But it just provides it just gives you a chance to get the child to stop the ball as well as to kick the ball. So if they can play it with themselves, they can kick it to their other hand and try and stop the ball, or they could aim at a target, they could knock over something, or perhaps a family member's there who can play with them. So it just encourages that finger strength as well as the dynamic movement of the finger. Something else you might want to do is grab something like a muffin tray and pick up a few balls, a few marbles, and ask the children to hold those marbles in their hand and see whether they can move it up to their thumb and index finger and put them into the put them into the holes of the muffin tray. This will be quite hard for some children. They can use 2 or 3 fingers to put their ball down, but a lot of them will want to drop the ball from here and just release their ball like that. They can also pick the balls up again and try and keep it within the palm of their hand and see how many they can hold. So encourage them to do it with one hand, whatever their dominant hand is or their preferred hand is. They might want to cheat and grab one from their other hand to help, or as I said, they might want to they might have difficulty holding it in there. This activity will work on intrinsic finger muscles as well as the palmar arches as well as thumb opposition, and also work on a pincer grasp or a tripod grasp while stabilising this side of the hand, so the separation of the 2 sides of the hand. So that's a really good activity to encourage children to do at home or in an OT session. Another thing you can do is just grab a handful of marbles or balls and give them a shake. You can encourage that wrist extension flexion by moving the balls, and that's just a fun one to do with little kids. What else do you do with marbles or balls? Let me know in the description box below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.